See, when a man walks into a room and sees the woman he loves, he's subconsciously scanning for one thing. Does she see me? Does she believe in me? Because when a man feels truly seen, not just for what he does, but for who he is, he'll move mountains for that woman. You got to understand, men are naturally wired to want to conquer, to build, to create. And when a woman recognizes that in him, when she speaks life into his potential, when she acknowledges his efforts, not just when he wins, but even when he's in the fight, something shifts in him. He starts to associate you with the feeling of being a champion. And when a man feels like a champion with you, that's when he commits at the deepest level. That's when he starts thinking about forever. But let me be real with you. Admiration and respect aren't about blind praise. Men don't just want flattery, they want authenticity. They can sense when words are empty. What they crave is genuine recognition. A woman who sees not just his victories, but also his struggles, and still says, I believe in you. Let me tell you something powerful. When a man steps out into the world, he faces battles you'll never see. He's got pressures, expectations, and doubts weighing on him. But when he comes home, when he's in your presence, he's looking for one thing. A woman who makes him feel like he's not fighting alone. A woman who makes him feel like he's enough, like he's capable, like what he does matters. And when he finds that, that's when he gives his heart. That's when he starts protecting the relationship with everything he's got. Because now it's not just about attraction. It's not just about love. It's about who he gets to be when he's with you. Some women think men don't need encouragement. They assume he already knows he's strong, that he doesn't need to hear it. But let me tell you, even the strongest man needs to be reminded of his strength. Even the most confident man needs to hear that he's doing something right. So, let's get practical. How do you give a man this feeling? How do you communicate admiration in a way that deeply impacts him? It's in the small things. It's in the way you acknowledge his efforts. It's in the way you say, I see how hard you're working, and I appreciate you. It's in the way you trust his decisions instead of second-guessing everything he does. It's in the way you stand beside him, not just when he's winning, but when he's struggling, because that's what separates a relationship that lasts from one that fades. You've got to become the woman who speaks to the king in him, not the boy. The woman who doesn't just demand from him, but inspires him. Because when a man feels admired, when he feels like a hero in your eyes, that's when he naturally starts treating you like a queen. So if you want a man to cherish you, protect you, and give you the best of him, it starts with this. Make him feel like the man he's meant to be. Not by changing yourself, not by losing your strength, but by recognizing his. And when you do that, you won't have to beg for love. You won't have to chase it. Because a man never leaves the place where he feels like he's at his greatest. There's something men crave in a relationship that goes beyond attraction, beyond chemistry, beyond even love itself. It's peace. It's emotional safety. It's the feeling that when he's with you, he's not stepping into another battle. He's stepping into a place where he can breathe. And let me tell you something. A man will fight wars out in the world, but he will always return to the place where he feels the most at peace. You see, most people think men are just these logical, driven, unshakable beings. Like they don't feel deeply, like they don't carry emotional weight. But that's not true. Men deal with stress, with self-doubt, with pressure to perform, to provide, to lead. And when a man comes home to a woman who makes him feel like he's walking into another battlefield, where he's constantly being criticized, where he never feels like he's enough, where he's always on edge, that's when he starts pulling away. Not because he doesn't love her, but because the energy is draining him. And this is where so many relationships break down, because love isn't enough if the relationship is full of stress, tension, and emotional chaos. A man might be attracted to you, he might even love you, but if he associates you with pressure, with conflict, with constant emotional turbulence, he will start seeking space. And listen to me, when a man starts craving space more than he craves you, the relationship is already in trouble. So what does it mean to be a woman who brings a man peace? It doesn't mean you suppress your voice. It doesn't mean you avoid conflict or walk on eggshells. No. A woman who brings peace is a woman who knows how to communicate without turning everything into a war. She knows how to express what she needs without making him feel like a failure. She knows how to challenge him without emasculating him. She knows how to hold him accountable without making him feel like he's under attack. And let's be clear, peace isn't passivity, it's power. A woman who brings peace to a man's life isn't a doormat. She's a woman who knows her worth so deeply that she doesn't need to create chaos to feel in control. She doesn't need to use guilt, manipulation, or criticism to get her way. She inspires him to listen, to engage, to want to be better, not because she's demanding it, but because the environment she creates makes him want to rise to the occasion. Think about it like this. If a man knows that after a long day, he's coming home to a place where he's constantly met with complaints, with stress, with unresolved tension, he's going to start staying out later. He's going to find excuses to avoid that space. But when he knows that when he's with you, he can breathe, when he knows that your presence recharges him instead of drains him, he'll do everything in his power to protect that connection. And let me tell you, a man will move mountains for the woman who makes him feel emotionally safe. That's the woman he opens up to, that's the woman he trusts, that's the woman he commits to, not just with words, but with his actions, with his consistency, with his soul. So if you want a man to give you more effort, more love, more commitment, it starts with this feeling. Make him feel like he's safe with you, like he can show up as himself without being constantly criticized or controlled. And in return, he will move differently. He will show up stronger, because no man ever leaves the woman who makes him feel like he's finally home. Men have this deep, undeniable need to feel needed. It's wired into them. A man wants to know that he plays a role in your life, that he brings something valuable to the table, that who he is and what he does matters to you. But here's the key. You've got to need him without making him feel like he's being used. Because the moment a man feels like he's just there to check a box, to provide, to be a convenience, something inside of him starts shutting down. See, there's a difference between needing a man and depending on him in a way that drains him. A man wants to add to your life, not be responsible for holding your entire world together. He wants to know that you value his presence, his leadership, his protection, not just his paycheck, not just his ability to solve problems, but him. And when he feels like he's needed for who he is, not just for what he can give, that's when he starts to invest in the relationship at a deeper level. You ever notice how men light up when they feel useful? When they fix something for you? When they help you through a tough situation? That's not an accident. That's how they're built. But if a man starts feeling like he's just being drained, like he's only there to meet your expectations, to carry your burdens while getting nothing in return, that's when resentment starts to grow. And you don't want a man who's staying because he feels obligated. You want a man who's there because he wants to be. So how do you make a man feel needed in a way that fuels the relationship instead of exhausting it? It's about appreciation over expectation. A man will run through walls for a woman who sees what he does and acknowledges it. But the moment he feels like nothing is ever enough, like he's always falling short, like he's constantly being measured instead of valued, that's when he starts detaching. And here's the mistake so many women make. They think that if they act too independent, too strong, too self-sufficient, they won't need a man at all. And listen, being strong is powerful. Having your own life, your own goals, your own ability to stand on your own 2 feet, that's attractive. But if a man feels like there's no space for him to contribute to your life, if he feels like you don't need him in any capacity, he won't fight to stay. Because no man stays where he feels irrelevant. So the key is balance. You don't need to be helpless. You don't need to play small. You just need to let him show up for you in ways that allow him to step into his masculine energy. That could be something as simple as asking for his advice, trusting him with a decision, or letting him take the lead in certain areas, not because you can't do it, but because you recognize that when he contributes, he feels connected. And let me tell you something, a man who feels needed in the right way will give more. He will protect more. He will commit more. Because now it's not just about love, it's about purpose. It's about feeling like his presence in your life makes a difference. And that's the feeling a man will never walk away from. There's something that pulls a man in deeper than attraction, deeper than words, deeper than even love itself. It's the energy a woman carries, the presence she brings into a room, the way she moves, the way she speaks, the way she makes him feel when he's around her. And what men are magnetically drawn to, what makes them crave a woman on a level they can't even explain, is the energy of feminine softness and warmth. Now let's get something straight. Softness is not weakness. Warmth is not passivity. This isn't about shrinking yourself or losing your strength. This is about understanding your power. Because when a woman operates in her true feminine energy, she doesn't demand a man to step up. She inspires him to. And a man will always move differently for a woman who makes him feel that deep, calming, intoxicating presence of warmth. Think about it. A man can be out in the world grinding, fighting battles, pushing himself to the edge. The last thing he wants to come home to is more resistance, more tension, more battles. He's looking for a space where he can exhale. And that's what a truly feminine woman provides. Not just love, not just support, but a sense of peace, of ease, of something soft in a world that is constantly hard. And don't get this twisted. This isn't about playing a role. It's not about acting delicate or pretending to be something you're not. It's about tapping into the part of you that knows how to receive, how to nurture, how to create an environment where a man feels pulled in instead of pushed away. Because let me tell you, men don't fall in love with pressure. They fall in love with the feeling of relief they get when they're around you. But here's the problem. A lot of women have been conditioned to think that to keep a man's attention, they have to be tougher, more guarded, more in control. They think they have to match his energy, prove they don't need him, stay on the offensive. But what they don't realize is that the very thing they think will make a man respect them is what's making him disconnect. Because a man doesn't bond through competition. He bonds through the energy that softens him, that reminds him why he's fighting so hard in the first place. A man doesn't just want a woman who looks good, he wants a woman who feels good to be around. A woman who doesn't turn every conversation into an argument, who knows how to laugh, how to bring lightness into his life instead of more weight. He wants a woman who knows how to let her guard down, how to trust him enough to let him lead when it matters, how to make him feel like he's needed but not like he's being controlled. Because listen, masculine energy is drawn to feminine softness the way fire is drawn to oxygen. It's a natural pull, it's instinctual. And when a woman understands how to operate in that energy, she doesn't have to chase a man, she doesn't have to beg for attention. She becomes the woman he can't get enough of, the woman he wants to protect, the woman he keeps thinking about long after she's left the room. And when a man finds that kind of woman, he will move mountains to keep her because he knows he's found something rare, something he can't afford to lose. A man wants to feel free in a relationship. Not free to run around and do whatever he wants, not free to neglect you, but free to be himself without feeling controlled, judged, or constantly under pressure to prove something. And let me tell you, the moment a man feels like he has to fight for his individuality in a relationship, the moment he feels like he's being micromanaged or molded into something he's not, he starts to pull away. Not because he doesn't love you, but because no man thrives in an environment where he feels trapped. See, a lot of women don't even realize when they're doing this. It doesn't always look like controlling behavior on the surface. Sometimes it's subtle. It's in the way you question his every move. It's the way you second guess his decisions, the way you always have to correct him or remind him how he should be doing something. It's in the little comments that make him feel like no matter what he does, it's never quite right. And at first, he might try harder. He might go out of his way to prove himself. But over time, he starts to shut down. Because the truth is, a man doesn't want to feel like he has to fight for his identity in his own relationship. And this is where a lot of relationships break down. Because love alone isn't enough if a man feels like he's losing himself in the process. He needs to feel like he's accepted as he is, that he doesn't have to constantly be on edge worrying about whether or not he's measuring up to some invisible standard. When a man feels free, when he knows he can be himself without being judged or molded into something else, that's when he opens up, that's when he gives more, loves deeper, commits fully, because now the relationship isn't something he has to escape from to feel like himself. It's something he feels at home in. And here's the thing. Giving a man this kind of freedom doesn't mean lowering your standards. It doesn't mean tolerating things that don't align with your values. It simply means trusting him enough to let him lead in his own way allowing him to show up as a man without constantly trying to shape him into your idea of what a man should be. Because when a man feels trusted, when he feels like his woman believes in him, he rises, he steps up. He naturally wants to do better, to be better, to give more, not because he's being forced to, but because he feels inspired to. But the moment he feels controlled, the moment he feels like he has no space to breathe, no room to just be, that's when his instinct is to pull away. Not because he wants to leave, but because a man will always retreat from a space where he feels like he's losing himself.